welcome to the Beaconsfield Cricket Club, hosted by BCC Virtual Racing. And tonight's race is the Rooftop Rendevous, another course in the Makuri Islands. This one, I think, introduced November 21. This is the, as described by Zwift Insider, the climbingest course. Basically a short crit race, 20.4 kilometres long, 6 laps. But of those 6 laps, each one is 3.7 kilometres long, and each one consists of a climb up to the KOM. So it's basically a climb up, straight back down, and repeat 6 times with a lead-in of 2.9 kilometres. I'm starting the broadcast just a little early today, as there's quite a lot to get through. Primarily because we have, let me have a look at the latest numbers as they keep changing. 34 riders from BCC riding tonight for the second of the BCC Beaconsfield Cricket Club races, but 4th in the BCC League, with the last race being on Monday evening. So 34 riders, so it's a huge field, in fact the largest I've seen from the club. And of those riders, a number I haven't seen race before. I'll just mention Coutier, McLaughlin, Doyle, Ray. So if I haven't mentioned your name before, you probably will get mentioned today, but I'll be keeping a close eye on how all the newer riders perform, primarily so I can say rude things about you in due course. But nonetheless, all riders starting together at the same time, and the start is in 1 minute 58 seconds. So across the categories, B's by far the largest field, 18 riders at the moment, and it may well go up. I'll just check on my phone, still the same. 11 riders in category C, and a good strong field in Cat D, with Lord being joined by Hokima, Morton, Slipper, and nice to see Telford in there for one of a repeat battle probably, but one of the most regular riders in Cat D along with Lord. Coming up in this race, I should say last Monday's race was won by Lancia in Cat B, who holds now, I think, a perfect record. Davis was right behind him, followed by Jury, Scott Rowland, and Martin Wales, and James Schooler. Lancia will be wanting to repeat that again tonight. Is he actually racing, though? Haven't seen him on the start list, but he may well appear late. Still only 34 riders, or still 34 riders, so he hasn't appeared just yet. In category C, that was won by Shannon, followed by Jamie Smith, Dave Sampson, Mark Jury, Hall and Langan, and then Carmel in category D was first rider across the line there. So some interesting racing, I think, going to happen tonight. This is a course that suits those that might think about a break or an attack. It's a very windy course, so it's easy to lose track of the riders in front once they all stretch out a little bit. But we now have 13 seconds to the start of this race. And here we go for the second of the Beaconsfield Cricket Club races. And the race is now underway. And immediately, if I can get hold of someone, there are the groups from the different pens coming together, with all riders starting together across the different categories. Of course, there will be C riders that get dragged up with the Bs and Bs that get dragged with the As, but it should all sort itself out in due course. So I'll try and get up to the front of this field. There is Lancia, in fact. I knew he'd be there with a perfect record. Hardly let Davis beat him. And he is in 9th position already of 107 riders. And as you can see in the moving map, this course winds back and forward. So Lancia getting the heartbeat up, 150, 217 watts, so he's not certainly pushing hard right at this moment. And I saw there, I'm on the wrong screen. I saw there Darren Charles moving through the field. He's to be congratulated in his own right, having just completed the slightly longer ride from Beaconsfield to Nice. That is Nice in the south of France, having climbed up Mont Ventoux on the way. And this, I think, M.BCC could be Matt Beaver, I think, and maybe only his 15th or 16th race, 229 watts. If it isn't you, Matt, let me know who you are. There's Coutier, 350 watts, so he's pushing fairly hard, right next to Roland in that group. And everyone will be. There's Darren Charles right in the middle, James Escoulard there alongside him. 1 minute 32 into the race. This is still part of the lead-in. It's quite a long lead-in on this course, 2.9 kilometres. Alan Nixon I saw there, Category C rider, pretty much up the front of the bunch as well, so expect this to spread out fairly quickly. Katie Jury's in that leading bunch as well, and I'll just have a look back, see who else we can see. Roland, Neil Campbell's in there, Empson, so all the usual suspects. Chris Brackey, Pedley is in there. I just saw Ware, Dave Sampson, Nixon again. So really, at this stage in the race, only 2.5 minutes in, it's pretty hard to tell what's going to happen until the riders have calmed down. And James is pushing out 350 watts there, so he's not hanging around. No heartbeat though. That could result in a disqualification at some point, so you need to be careful with that. There is Darren Charles. Doesn't look like a rider that's just ridden to the south of France and back again. I'll have a quick look further back through the field just to see how it's beginning to stretch out. If I can get there, Oliver White, Quebrada, Chris Reed, Tom Kerr. There's Mark Shannon in this bunch as well. So this looks, yes, this seems to be a second group forming with White and Shannon up the front of that at 2.2k in. Who else is in here? Ray. Is he in that same group? Or is this a third group? Might be a third group. There's Gavin Wilkinson in that group with Ray as well. Fairly consistent rider. And Al Watts I saw. There he is. Now he will do well. Not his fitness is not what it used to be, but he'll do well to jump on the back of this group and hang in there for as long as he can. And in the D's, Okima, Telford, and Lord looks to be distanced already, 13 seconds behind Telford. And that is the last rider. So moving, let's see if we can get back up to the front of the field. Oh, there's Morton in that group as well. So that is Cat D. And Zwift won't let me scroll through to the top, so I'll have to work my way up through the field. And that, I thought I caught a glimpse of some of the riders approaching the start of the climb. We'll see shortly. No sign of Davis. I have absolutely no doubt he's in here somewhere. And the riders now on, just coming up for their first lap. Here we go. This is the start of that first lap. And there's, I was going to say Angus Stoneham. I was just thinking about him earlier. This is Marcus Stoneham. Richard Hindley. 3.2k in. Quebrada, McLaughlin, and Shannon all together, as is Tom Kerr, Nixon, and White. Now, so that I'm not jumping all over the place, let's see if we can get up to the front of the field and then just wait for them all now to stretch out. So Katie Jury on screen at 4.1 kilometres, lap 1 of this 6th lap. Good view there of the different groups chasing each other. And Katie is up towards the very front of this race. Lancey is tucked in there with Chris Brachy, Scott Rowland. Davis must be there somewhere. Let's see if we can see him looking backwards. Ware, this is still the front group, beginning to stretch out, spread out. Some riders as Coutier, Sampson and Campbell doing rather nicely, holding on there, beginning to thin a little bit. The front riders are about 90 metres ahead. Pedley just beginning to drop off the back of that leading group. I am still wondering. Now there's been a split here with Campbell, Empson and Pedley just behind. Not kept pace with that leading group, but no great surprise at this stage, but these are good riders. Let's see how Shannon is doing. He was the winner of Cat C for BCC on Monday night with the at the GGCC hosted race, and at the moment he's got a new PR, so he's riding hard. Heart's right up there, 167, 280 watts. And Quebrada's right next to him. I think, if I remember correctly, he actually caught Quebrada, who is a Cat B rider, last Monday. Tom Kerr's in there, Oliver White, McLaughlin. So good, strong representation from Beaconsfield. Group of about 10 riders. There's Doyle. I haven't seen him before. Now he has fallen off the back of that group. Chris Reed's pulling him in though, catching up. That gap is closing down to 7 seconds. There's the view from Chris's perspective. With Doyle, you will see him just ahead, and then 9 seconds behind Reed in a small group is Wilkinson at 5.4 kilometres in. Remember, this is 20 kilometres, 20.4 kilometres, so a quarter of the way through already in 10 minutes. So it will be difficult tracking all of these riders. Stoneham. But we'll move a little bit further back. Al Watts. James Quigley by himself. Not a good position to be in. But 3 riders coming up behind him. There's Hokema leading the Ds by the looks of it, with Morton right behind him. Telford 19 seconds further back, and Lord has Telford in her sights, so fingers crossed that she can catch him. I think that's entirely possible. Riders do need to keep an eye on what's happening behind them and in front, otherwise all too easy for someone to catch up, and particularly on a winding course, once the display on the right of the screen showing the rider order it becomes quite extended, and riders can generally only see the sort of 5 or 6 riders ahead of them. If you're the 7th and 8th rider ahead, you might not know that they're pulling away. To keep a close eye on that screen by the time a rider does attack off the front, and you notice it may be too late. But here is Charles along with Jury, Lancia. Still no sign of Davis. Is he actually racing? If someone knows, if they can let me know, that would be great. And we are now at 8 kilometers, 11 minutes, 41 seconds, 122 meters of climbing. And the KOM, it does say on the screen there, I forgot to mention, it's 2.7 to 3% average over 1.9 kilometers. So not exactly a mountain, but enough to slow riders down. Look at this performance from Charles, 340, 350 watts, 176 on the heart rate, so he's working hard up the front. There's Jury, has the Queen of the Mountains. I think I just saw her with the spotty jersey. Disappeared again. And for the there, got it. And this rider, Tall Andy, he's actually a Wickham rider, has the jersey for the men. Okay, Matt Beaver 14 seconds off the pace from the leading group, but in good company with Ware, Coutier, Skoular, and who else? I think that's it from BCC in this group. So there's group 2 now at 8.6k. And by comparison, the leading group is 200 meters further ahead. Probably can't see that from above. No. Lots of power-ups coming out. One awarded every lap, I think, usually in this type of race. So pays to use them strategically. And Beaver there, 154 in the heart. I know he can push that a bit harder. Now there are a number of riders that have entered, but I haven't actually seen riding yet. And Shannon still seems to be the first BCC rider, along with Kerr in Cat C, 27 seconds behind Quebrada in Cat B, and along with Kerr and Shannon, White. Sorry, Quebrada is in this group, I make a mistake. Nixon's in here as well. So a good collection of our BCC riders. And I will now go back up to the front. This is group 2, moving past them quickly. And here we are now in group 1. And you can just see the tail end. This should be the leading rider. Well, first it is. And you can just see the difference in time. There's Cat D ahead now. And don't forget, in these short laps, these riders will be lapping each other. But Cat D is, I think, 4 minutes 56 seconds behind these riders. About 20 in this group. Charles sitting in the middle of that bunch. Jury looking comfortable, if that's the right word. Bracky sitting in there. All experienced racers. They've done this a few times. And Lancia leading the league, and I think he might have discovered one of the key elements of leading the league is not just to race well, which he does of course, but is to turn up at every race, which is why I'm surprised I can't see Davis, because he rarely misses a race. 11.3 kilometres in, just over halfway, 16 minutes. So I think they might just break 30 minutes for this race, the leaders anyway. There's Chris Brecky. You can see most of the riders on Tron bikes, which tend to give, for most courses, tend to be the best of the bikes. But of course you have to earn it to be able to ride it. Chris Brackey. Cat D, there's Morton appearing at the top of the screen on the right, the leaderboard, 5 minutes behind. And is this group beginning to, no, it's beginning to sort of stretch out a little bit. I don't think that's anything to worry about, just as they lap now some of the slower riders. And they're beginning to reel in the back markers. There's Charles. There is the KOM banner. This will be a fast finish, of course, but once the riders get to the top, which they've just done, it's be no great surprise to learn it's downhill all the way to the finish. So it will be fast, probably very fast. So they'll all be getting a feel for what they need to do in that final lap. Right now, 50 kilometers per hour, minus 7%. Not really steep enough for long enough to get into a super tuck. It just flattens out very quickly. But still a fast course. Let's move a little bit further back in the field to Group 2 now, if I can get them on screen. So Group 1 at 13k. Group 2 at 12.7. So Coutier on screen along with Ware, Beaver. There's Beaver. Still riding fairly comfortably in my mind, as well as comfortably as you can be when racing. And by that I mean he's certainly not going flat out just yet, but he might be saving himself for that last lap. Ware has a good finish on him. One to watch. And see how Campbell and Empson are still together. Further 54 seconds further back from Group 2. This is Group 3. So that gap between Group 2 and 3 is increasing, as is the gap to the next BCC rider, Pedley. Not by as much, but nonetheless still going up. And let's have a look and see how Shannon is doing at the front of Group C. Still there with White and Nixon. That's White on screen now. There is Nixon. And there is Shannon. So I suspect Quebrada is in there as well. So is Kerr. But they're both in Cat B. And dropping off the back of that group, I think I saw McLaughlin somewhere. Yes, Cat B. And Hindley is behind him, as is Ray and Cat C. but next to Doyle, category B. So the riders are quite mixed up. There's Wilkinson, part of this stretched out group. And Stoneham. I would not have expected to see him by himself. One other rider behind him now. No heartbeat for him. And then Chris Reed, again, I wouldn't expect to see him usually riding by himself, but it's easy to say, but quite difficult to do if you get miss the jump to one of the groups, get spat out the back, no one around to help you. There's James Quigley. He's now at 11.6 kilometres. But here, going back up to the front, 15.2, 5k left to go. Charles, Jury, Bracky, Lancia, Roland is doing nicely. He fell off the front of the lead group on Monday night, I think it was. I just couldn't quite hold on to them. And finished in 5th place on Monday evening. So Darren Charles still holding a high output there, but of course similar to the others, Bracky, Lancia, Jury, Jury was 4th. On Monday. Okay, 16 kilometres just coming up for 16k. 249 metres of climbing completed. And this leading group's riding around 40 kilometres per hour. And I will be careful to try not to lose the finishers as they cross the line. So group 2, let's have a look where they are now. So there is Beaver, Warre still in there. Coutier's there. Who else was in this group? Al Watts 5 minutes further back. So the second group seems to be holding pretty much together. Yeah, and about half a kilometre further behind Group 2 is Gary Epson, Neil Campbell. And it looks as if Skoular James is beginning to drift off. Empson and Campbell are pulling away 100 metres ahead at this stage. That's a difficult position to be in all by yourself. No one behind of any use, and the riders in front pulling away. And this is Pedley who's behind. And at Cat D, it's Hokima and Morton still up at the front. Let's have a look at Shannon. So Quebrada, Shannon, White, Kerr looks to be, let's see what's happening. Oh, couldn't click on him there. There he is. And Hindley. And behind him, further 6 seconds back, McLaughlin. Nixon's dropped away from that group now. I thought that was a great pace he was holding. I was kind of hoping he might hold on to it, but no, not the case. He's now riding at 1.2 watts per kilo. In fact, 0. In fact, he's stopped. Has he got a puncture, I wonder? No, he's just adjusted something. He's off again, or is he? 0.8 watts. No, he's either has a problem or he's stopped again. He's got his hand up for a mechanic. No one's coming. Looks as if his race might be over. Maybe a puncture. So we won't look at him anymore. In fact, I think... Oh, just saw him again. There he is. Can't get rid of him now. No, back again. Let's go back to the start. See who we can pick up. Right, here's the front group. And I'll stay with this front group now, because if I go and look for someone else, I'll never get back to this group in time. So we have in this leading group in contention for the win this evening, Lancia, Bracky. Is Bracky in there? Yes, Bracky, Charles, Lancia. And there's a sprint going on from Lancia now, 11.3 watts per kilo. They're all beginning to push. Lancia's getting distance a little bit, overtaking back markers, so it's quite hard to track who's doing what, so we'll stay on Lancia. But Bracky's there as well. Jury must be, but I can't see her at the moment. I have to wait till they pass all these other riders. They don't all fit on the screen at the same time, which makes it a bit awkward. Lancia putting another push in, not letting Bracky get away from him. In fact, he has overtaken him again. Looks like Lancia is going for that first place. A fierce competitor. Good course for him. Oh, Charles now. He has not kept pace. I think that ride down to Nice has drained him. Jury's dropped off as well, 2 seconds further back. So has, was it Roland I saw there? Yes, Roland. And Jury 2 seconds behind Charles. And 8 seconds behind the leaders. Looks like Lancia is going all the way. He's pulled away from Bracky by 4 seconds. Oh, a phenomenal performance from Lancia here. He must have the finish line in sight. Comes up fairly quickly about now, but the road twists and turns so much it's a bit difficult to track. In fact, Lancia is going for the overall win by the looks of it. Only 4 riders ahead of them. It's a Wickham rider straight in front of him, so he's got to get past him. Freewheeling though. Not quite sure what he's doing at... Was that a win from Lancia? Let's have a look. There comes Bracky. Yeah, I must have just missed him cross the finish line, but I got him in order. And I think Charles, he's crossed the finish line. Roland, Jury. Happens that way sometimes, unfortunately. Zwift doesn't quite report the length of the course in the same way that there's Lancia again. Just cruising down the hill. Right, see if we can get... Won't let me get any further down the field than this. There's Coutier, Warre, Beaver. 20.4 kilometres. They've just crossed the line by the looks of it. Or are they just freewheeling? I think they're just in the super tuck. I'm just trying to get an exact distance for the finish. Must have been back there. They're still freewheeling. Okay. Roland come to a rest. Let me just go back to the start and see if I can pick up Empson and Campbell. Let's have a look. So it's Empson leading Campbell. That is the view that Campbell has. Empson just in front. It doesn't look as if I can see exactly where the finish line is. But it should be at 20.4, if I remember that correctly. 20.4k. And we're now on 20.6. So further back in the field now. Try and get Gavin Wilkinson at 19.5k. Hindley at 19.8. Can't see, must have missed the front of the Cat C field. It's quite a difficult one to follow this. Let's see if we can do a roundup now of those riders that are left in the race. So Quigley's at 17.7 with Al Watts behind him at 17.5 now. Hindley 20.2 kilometres with McLaughlin just behind him, 15 seconds further back. Kerr, there's Shannon. Must have missed him finishing as well. At 20.9, looks as if he led Group C again, followed by Kerr, and then Hindley, by the looks of it. Next will be McLaughlin, and after McLaughlin, that's just Jury doing a cool down. Stoneham, where is he? 19.3. And Doyle, in fact, is next to finish. 20.2, going for a bit of a push there towards the finish line. 34 minutes. Let's go back to the start again. Right, I think we'll wrap this up in just a moment. Let me have one final look, see who is still on the course in the Ds. In fact, actually, there's Chris Reed in the Bs still there, as is Stoneham. But in the Ds, we've got Hokima out front by the looks of it, followed by Morton 1 minute further back, so quite a gap's opened up there. Then it will be Lord, I think. No, Telford. 15.1k. Can't see Lord unless she's ahead. That's it. So just a few riders left now. Al Watts still on screen. Sorry, I should say still riding Cat C. So I think that's it. We'll just finish off with Al Watts there. I don't think any of these positions are going to change between now and the end of this race. So thank you all for watching. Be back again on Monday evening. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up or subscribe or whatever you need to do. Might get me one more viewer, at least motivate me to do another video if nothing else. But see you Monday.